got to say this, right? And I know this seems like it's been overdone and we've done this before, right? I freaking shelled for RGG Studios with Gaiden and saying it was amazing, and I've only played about 3 chapters of this, so this is my early reaction. But Yakuza 8, would you believe me if I said this, that it is actually amazing? Right, bit of an exaggeration here again, but it is amazing. I've played the first few chapters and I will definitely do a review on it. So what do I actually think works about this? So I think the intro to this is amazing, right? You've got Ichiban coming back into the swing of things, and you've got all the different other characters, and it's kind of like we're setting the stage up, we're setting this new foundation, and you see Ichiban, right? This is kind of a spoiler to the start of the game. I didn't even expect this, but Ichiban works at like Hello Work, which was this place you went to for the job system to get your like job ranked up, and you had all these different suits and styles. So seeing him doing that, and there was all these kind of twists and turns within the chapter, and this interesting thing. So I believe in a trailer like 7 months ago, there's this thing about how Ichiban was gonna get rejected by Sayako, and in context for the game, how Namba and Adachi like they have these dating advice for you, and it was really weird to see this happen. All the options were kind of hilarious, and I didn't expect this to happen at all. But getting to see this new side of Ichiban where he's working in Hello Work and him getting a bit more dating advice. The chapter was almost like 3 hours long, and couldn't really feel it. I really couldn't feel the pacing on it, and so.
You are about to experience the James Rambling Show, hosted by James Patton.
Hello, welcome back to the James Ramblin' Show for yet another episode. And in today's episode, I have a very, very special occasion episode for you because, as I mentioned last week, I was going to dabble into my thoughts on Yakuza 8, which I'll definitely be doing for the next 5 to 10 minutes, we'll see. So before I get into that, I just want to build a bit of context here that I have actually been covering the Yakuza franchise for a while on this podcast, so in case somebody's just tuning in for the first time, right, I talked about this thing about 7 or 8 months ago about, they had this Xbox game showcase and there was all these trailers, and then you see Ichiban, the main protagonist of Yakuza 7, randomly butt naked on a Hawaiian beach. There's been hype since about September 2022 when they first announced Yakuza 8 in like this RGG this summit. The Rio Gagatoko studio did this summit about 2022, and then there was that, and there was all these things, and it's been in development for a while. So this game has been in development for about 4 years now, and I actually have got a physical copy of Yakuza 8 right here with me. So I got it on launch day, and I was super duper excited for this game because I've been excited for this game for a very long time, and I managed to catch up to all the other Yakuza games and replayed all the other Yakuza games in order to get to this game. And I have got to say this, right? And I know this seems like it's been overdone and we've done this before, right? I freaking shelled for RGG Studios with Gaiden and saying it was amazing, and I've only played about 3 chapters of this, so this is my early reaction. But Yakuza 8, would you believe me if I said this, that it is actually amazing? Right, bit of an exaggeration here again, but it is amazing. I've played the first few chapters and I will definitely do a review on it. So what do I actually think works about this? So I think the intro to this is amazing, right? You've got Ichiban coming back into the swing of things, and you've got all the different other characters, and it's kind of like we're setting the stage up, we're setting this new foundation, and you see Ichiban, right? This is kind of a spoiler to the start of the game. I didn't even expect this, but Ichiban works at like Hello Work, which was this place you went to for the job system to get your like job ranked up, and you had all these different suits and styles. So seeing him doing that, and there was all these kind of twists and turns within the chapter, and this interesting thing. So I believe in a trailer like 7 months ago, there was this thing about how Ichiban was gonna get rejected by Sayako, and in context for the game, how Namba and Adachi like they have these dating advice for you, and it was really weird to see this happen. All the options were kind of hilarious, and I didn't expect this to happen at all. But getting to see this new side of Ichiban where he's working in Hello Work and him getting a bit more dating advice, the chapter was almost like 3 hours long, and couldn't really feel it. I really couldn't feel the pacing on it, and so I enjoy that about it. There's like this opening movie. So like a lot of the Yakuza games, like the way the game starts, right, when you open up the game, it's like got a compilation of scenes and a bit of like this epic music. Well, there's this opening movie that happens about 30 minutes in as you start the game, and you start this first little sequence with this Yakuza member, Sasaki, I think his name is. You get this opening movie where you see Ichiban walking around, he's going to that food shop and he's eating the ramen or whatever. You see all these kind of cool art styles, you see the voice actors at the side while they're walking, all these good animations, and interestingly, you get to see Ichiban with a man bun or a ponytail, which was a thing that Majima actually had in Yakuza 0 in my poster back there. And so there's definitely that. But another thing about Yakuza 8 that I'm falling in love with, right, the first three chapters, right, is how they literally improved the combat from Yakuza 7. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, right, in Yakuza 7, I think I'm going to reiterate this because I did mention that I did a reaction to the demo of Yakuza 8. Well, Yakuza 7, you're just there, you're just standing while you're doing the attacks, you're choosing the special magical abilities or you're doing attack, right? But in this game, you've got like this circle around you, and like this like thing that shows you like how far away you are from the enemy. It shows you some like options where you can throw weapons at them and like environmental things. So for example, you could throw a chair or something or a bin at the characters. So that was nice. Also, right, you're moving around, so you're not just like standing still anymore. And the fact that they listened to that criticism and applied it here, right? There's also the perfect guard where you're there, and then like there's like this health bar that shows up and it gets close up in your face. But once you've played it more than once, like you've seen that sequence go down more than once, I think that it doesn't get as bad. For somebody who's just seen it for the first time, it's like, oh, it's like right in my face. Like you're trying to guard the attack, right? You're doing this with your hands, audio listeners. You're putting your two fists together and you're like trying to guard the attack, and then these health bar thing at the side pops up randomly. And there's those things, but I just appreciate how that also happened. And yeah, there's definitely that. But this game also took about 4 hours to download, and I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, but it definitely took a long time to download because this game is very, very long. It seems like there was this whole like the Japanese Yakuza, like RGG Studios, were they were like exaggerating this to where it's like you're gonna take 4 or 5 days or 3 or 4 days to beat this game. I know you are. They were kind of just hyping up the game as you would do for a company if you want to advertise something super well. You got to entice viewers and things of that nature, but I've been hearing that Yakuza 8 is like 45 hours to 50 hours long, which is actually the longest Yakuza game. I did see that there is 14 chapters or something, which is interesting if you consider how Yakuza 5 had 21 chapters. So it'll be interesting to see how this whole game turns out because I'm really enjoying it right now, and I wish I could say more, but the game's been out for about a day as I'm recording this, maybe just a little over a day now. And I'm just really glad that Infinite Wealth, Yakuza 8, whatever you want to call it, is really good. So I hope to finish Infinite Wealth in the next 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 days. I am not gonna rush it or anything. I have seen on YouTube this guy who uploaded the ending and things, but I never actually watched it. So there's so many ways in which I can take this segment, but pretty much Infinite Wealth Yakuza 8 is pretty decent. I did forget to mention that also I got a poster of Yakuza 8 in there, which I did not really expect. So back there it's like Ichiban, like that posted there, audio listeners, right? That one there. Ichiban and Kiryu are like this outside this Aloha seaside cafe, and they're kind of just chilling there. And I really appreciate that that I got a poster, because there was this thing, right? One actual thing about Yakuza 8 that came out lately that I never got to share my thoughts on was this new game plus thing that they did. Now, this is just a tiny little thing that I want to add to this, but pretty much if you have never played the Yakuza games, right, there's this thing called New Game Plus. Now, what is that? So you start a new game, you finish the story, you get that premium adventure, you get to do the side content, all of that. But once you get into the main menu again, it says New Game Plus, which means you've got all that build up progress, right? And you're able to play the game again with a higher difficulty or higher skills or whatever. But this time there was this controversy brewing with Sega to where, right, they actually put a $15 paywall on this. You had to get the highest level edition of the game, so it'd be like the ultimate edition. So if you didn't get that, they would paywall you. And that's the main criticism about this game at Yakuza 8. So they're actually doing this paywall New Game Plus. In my opinion, it's a bit stupid, especially for those who do YouTube videos on this. Like, there's this one guy on YouTube I watch, Devly on 7, right? He has this video, he does like these boss fight videos and does all of that kind of stuff. And so if he can't do it in English or he can't do it again in a higher difficulty, then that'll be a bit of a shame for him. But the interesting thing is they actually have to buy that. It's just a bit sad because you'd think it would come with the base game. The standard edition is what I got for 60 quid, right? And I think the highest one was like 99, £98 or something. It's an extreme that the it's an extreme stuff, and that is how I feel about that. But that is my early reaction for Yakuza 8. I thoroughly enjoy what I'm getting right now from this franchise. I am absolutely blown away by how the fact we've gotten Yakuza 0, right? I started Yakuza 0, we've got an 8, 9 mainline games, we count Yakuza 0. And then you've got Lost Judgment, the Kaito Files, all of this content, but it's all of it's very, very good. So there's that, and I do plan on, I'm just going to tease this right now, that I might actually be doing a re-review of the Yakuza franchise, because I did kind of share my thoughts on a replay stuff on the podcast, and I've changed my mind on things, and I want to kind of reiterate things that I kind of didn't go over in that review because it was kind of all over the place and I didn't know what I was talking about. So expect a review on the Yakuza franchise. So I might go from Yakuza 0 all the way to Yakuza 8 because I'll put Infinite Wealth in there. You know, naturally I would do just a separate review for Infinite Wealth, but or Yakuza 8 or whatever. But I'd rather just do it as a whole because then it's the whole entire game series and then I can compare, contrast ideas, whatnot. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that segment where we're definitely getting ourselves back into the world of Yakuza and we're getting a physical copy of the game. But there is this other game that I got. Now, there's this thing, right? I'll just bring you up to speed that I actually have never played a lot of the Tekken games. Like, it's this fighting series that goes all the way back to the 80s or 90s, I think. But I got this physical edition of Tekken 8, the launch edition. It looks really nice. And the reason why I got this is because I never mentioned this, but right, I think like 3 or 4 years ago, I played like Tekken 7, like this random boss fight. I was fighting with my cousin or something as one of these characters. Didn't really know what I was doing, so that was the only game I played. And at the time, Tekken 7 was on the Game Pass, so I heard that Tekken 8 was coming out at the same day as Yakuza 8. So I was curious to myself, okay, they've got the demo, let me try this. I had a lot of fun with the game, so I went ahead and bought the physical version of this from the Series X, right, on Argos or whatever, on the Argos website, and I did finish the story mode earlier. Maybe I'll do a review of this, but this is kind of like my condensed impressions of it, right? So as somebody that doesn't actually, know every single detail about Tekken, I actually had a really good time with this, right? you've got yourself a bit of like a simple story. Like there's this character called Jin, and then there's Kazuya, who's the dad, and they're kind of fighting each other. Right, there's this whole rivalry thing going on, and his dad wants to take over the world, and you get to fight as all these other people, and then there's like the Iron Fist tournament. There's all these elements going on. But then you've got like these aggressive attacks you can do. Like there's one thing called Rage Art, and it's so cool. Like you do this thing and it like punches, you just throw them across the thing and you get to slam them. It's really fun, and the combat I really do enjoy. And there is like side content to this, so it won't just be the only thing, right, that I'll be playing. It took me about 3 to 5 hours to beat it as well, like definitely, because I had to redo quite a few boss fights. Because like I established there, right, I'm not somebody that's played every single Tekken game. I'm trying to find my footing here. And what's good about this is you don't actually have to play every single Tekken game to understand this, because it kind of just already assumes that maybe you played the games and maybe you don't. And there's this feature in the game that like has these animations where you can look at recaps of things, and there is recaps on YouTube of this. It is interesting because it did feel like I was playing an anime or something, of how over the top it felt and how you were in this stuff, and the characters felt really goofy and cartoonish. But I would say that I would give the game about an 8 out of 10. I had a blast with it. So if this clip that we talk about Tekken 8, if it blows up or something, maybe I will do a full on review of it. But that is kind of my kind of initial impressions and stuff. And you probably didn't expect me to talk about Tekken 8 as well as Yakuza 8, but I just thought I'd throw it in there because, you know, I got it today and yesterday, and I was like, yeah, I just might as well. And I did only download it today because I was so focused on Yakuza 8, and I'm certainly going to go back to that. So once we get outside of the 200th time about what, like, talking about Yakuza or whatever, there is this thing that I do want to talk about, and it's something you probably noticed about the camera, is that it hasn't actually changed that much. So I know this is kind of a bit of a out of left field thing, but I did get a camera like the couple 3 days ago off of eBay, right? And I did buy it. It was only £12, and it came a day late. And I was like, "What the heck is going on? Am I ever gonna get this?" So I got it, right, and I put it on for the first time, and it looked weird. Like, oh, it looks a bit different. The camera might actually work, but every time I've tried to use it, it just doesn't. Like, there's like this foam that covers it up, right? So for audio listeners, this is what it looks like. It's got your little mini camera thing, and then you've got this foam thing, and you put it over the top of the laptop. And I was trying it out, and then when I plug it in, right, it doesn't sound like the microphone doesn't register the same as it would do as a normal camera without this 1080p. Well, I want to say it's 1080p at this rate, because it doesn't feel like a proper camera. So I was experimenting. I wanted to see if like this would actually work and things. But I'm definitely gonna have to go to a better cam. I know I'm kind of roasting myself here, but I need to go to a better technology store. Trying to go off eBay for 13 quid quality, that is a terrible decision. I tried it out, but yeah, so it just sounded like, see, when I talk, it doesn't sound clear. It just sounds like when you don't have the microphone plugged in, it sounds like a webcam quality. So not very high definition, not very clear, not very nice, a bit compelling to listen to. And so there's absolutely that. There's absolutely Yakuza 8 happening. There's absolutely Tekken 8 happening. There's absolutely the 4K camera. Right, we'll go to a tech store. But so what else can I even talk about right now? I do kind of want to cap off the episode with a bit about how, right, I actually went to like a Spanish restaurant last night. Now, the reason why I just thought I would talk about this, because I know I've talked about food a lot on this podcast already, but I went to this restaurant, has this like Spanish name, and the reason why we went was because my oldest sister got a new job lately, and we wanted to celebrate this, and so we did that, and it was like a lot of seafood and stuff like that, and I have to say that I did actually enjoy this. I did enjoy the experience, because I'm somebody, right, I don't have a lot of Spanish food, because I don't really have a lot of Spanish food. I love Italian food like pizza and all of that. I've mentioned that a few times before already, but there's all of that, right? And the kind of stuff I got was like cheese stuff. Like I'm trying to remember it. There was a lot of stuff, right? So there's like croquettes, and then there was all these like on the menu, right? There was like Spanish stuff that I couldn't really understand, and then underneath it was in English, so that was decent. So there's that, and there's a lot of people there as well, and there was a queue, and there was so much to this. But I had an overall good experience with that, and so it's been a different episode in a sense because we've had Tekken 8 going on, we've had Yakuza 8 going on, we've had that Spanish stuff going on, and I wish I could remember more about that, but I definitely enjoyed the food, so there wasn't really much else I could say. I wouldn't give you like a 9 minute rundown like I did with Yakuza. That's the thing about me, right? I actually remember stuff that I've, kind of enjoyed, like Yakuza more than a Spanish restaurant experience now. That's what can kind of happen because it's so. I'm just thinking about that more, if you know what I mean. So there's that, there's all that kind of stuff. I know I think I wanted to end the episode, but there was this thing that I wanted to touch on was how I'm actually going to be seeing Ailstorm live in March. Now, I never think I mentioned this like last week or whatever, but my dad told me that we're actually going to be seeing Ailstorm live. And if you know about me, I did mention how I actually like Ailstorm, a Scottish metal band. Seeing them on March 3rd on a Sunday, so we might not be able to cover that on March 2nd, but it might be like March 9th we'll be able to cover it because then it's like the Saturday following it. We'll see how that goes. That's still like a month and a half away too, almost 2 full months away at this point. So there's that. There was also this song, right? So I know, right, I don't even really listen to Russian hard bass as much as I used to. Like, I definitely have been losing interest in it because it's all just sounding repetitive and sounding the same. But this will just be a rare occasion where I'm going to talk about it because this song that came out lately, I have to say, it is one of the most unique sounding kind of hard bass songs I've heard in a while. Like, it doesn't just use generic donks or anything. It sounds like the person used like different instruments and things. So I don't think I've mentioned him, but there's this artist called Leo Lantern, and he put out this track called "The Dance of the Swag Lord," right? And I actually thought this track was decent. And I know with Zito, we're going away from Revere because Revere's not been pumping out content lately. So let's just get into this, right? I have listened to it quite a few times, so I will credit down below. And it feels like a while since we've played music, like a month, maybe 2, 3 weeks, something like that. So this is what I'm talking about. Like the instruments sound different. It sounds like this folklore kind of like whistle, like drum thing, like guitar thing. Like when you first listen to the first like a minute of this, you think it's not a hard bass song. Then it evolves into that. And I've been listening to like hard style because of Hardcore Never Dies. But right, let's just hear this, right? Like it sounds like a folk song. Like you would walk into like a village in the 1200s and you think they would be playing this, right? So this is where it turns into a hard bass song, but it is creative because I've never really seen many hard bass songs do this. It's either just random Russian words or it's like a basic donk sound, but this is quite different. You don't need to play it all, but I will just play a little more, right? So that's that song, right? You can go and check that out on Spotify. It's called Dance of the Swag Lord. And so that is kind of my whole thing here, talking about Yakuza again, talking about Tekken for one of the first few times on the podcast. I don't think I really talk about this stuff, right? We were talking about that Spanish food experience. And then we talked about quite a few things, right? I don't need to mention everything we talked about. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of the James Ramon Show. Stay tuned for more like this. We'll be coming at you more with more stuff And hopefully we get a better 4K camera, because that was a bit of a mishap that I made with that thing. So bye, see you next week.